If you clicked on this video, it is probably because you are either an expat, digital nomad, or thinking about becoming one of the two. In this video, I'm going to give you my personal experiences and rankings for the top 5 Asian countries for remote work locations for digital nomads and Black expats. All right, so go ahead, like this video while the intro plays, and meet me on the other side.
If I can be anything, I think I'm gonna be me. I know I gotta be me.
Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. I am Ebony Yvonne, full-time entrepreneur and digital nomad. I am able to run an online business while traveling and exploring all over the world. And if you clicked on this video, you are probably in the same situation or wondering if a lifestyle like this is possible for you and what destinations you should go to. At the time of me making this video, I have traveled to 27 different countries, and through my own travels, I have essentially figured out which countries are great for remote work and which ones are not so great, simply through trial and error. So I wanted to make this video as I travel to different locations, different destinations, different countries. I can actually share my experiences and efforts that it may help someone else when it comes to you making decisions about which countries you want to actually work from, whether you're a digital nomad, you're going to be there short term, or if you are an expat and you're actually looking to move to another country full time. So in this video particularly, I'm going to be sharing with you my top 5 Asian countries for remote work for Black entrepreneurs and expats. And so some of the things that I considered in my rankings when making my top 5 list is going to be number 1, internet connectivity. If you don't have no good Wi-Fi, what are you doing, right? And I have figured this out through trial and error, okay? India, not always that reliable depending on what location you are in. If you're in a place like New Delhi, for sure, you have a lot of noise in the background, a lot of congestion and hustle and bustle that just makes it hard to focus and concentrate. And if you're like recording or something, you have to take meetings, it could be a lot of noise and distractions in the background, right? And I figured that out the hard way. But in this video, I'm going to give you my top 5 list of Asian countries that I think are great for remote work, and I'm judging them based on internet connectivity, overall safety and security. I'm also judging based on the visa requirements, if there are any, networking opportunities with other expats, digital nomads, or entrepreneurs. I'm also ranking these based on the quality of life, the overall cost, as well as the time zone and difference. If you are someone who, let's say, even though you do remote work, you still have to work on, let's say, I run my business on East Coast time, so regardless of wherever I am in the world, I typically always try to work 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time to 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Now, sometimes I don't work on Fridays and we kind of mix our schedule right, but typically I try to be accessible for business partners, team members, and clients during those hours, Monday through Thursday. Okay. All right. So let's get into my top 5 list, and I'm going to go in reverse order. We're going to start with number 5 and work our way back to number 1 with my top country that I recommend for remote work. Okay. So let's go ahead and get into number 5, and that is going to be Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia. Listen, of all the Asian countries that I've been to, I probably spent the least amount of time in Malaysia, but it still makes my top 5 list because I do find that it was very affordable there. I ended up having an Airbnb. I think I spent under $500 for the entire month for my Airbnb. Most of the activities that I did were fairly cheap and easy and accessible for the most part. The food there was amazing. You had a lot of different diverse foods. It was pretty affordable. You could get food for like $5 US. The internet was reliable, and I met a lot of locals where I had a lot of good cultural experiences. Some of the things that I necessarily didn't like, I don't want to say I didn't like, but some of the things that I did notice while being in Malaysia though was, so in my personal experience, I didn't have any networking opportunities. Now, that's not to say that they don't exist. And then there's something else that I also consider in this ranking is while I was in Malaysia, I did do a lot of things. Like I went to the mall, which was huge. I think it was like 8 floors or more. There's a theme park that's in there. I went to the hot springs and the outdoor spas. I went to the monkey forest. So I was able to do a lot of things while I was there during my downtime, but there were a lot of things that I personally didn't get to do just for the simple fact that a lot of the activities are full day or 2 day activities, and because you're traveling to other cities, you're traveling to other regions, sometimes even other countries, and so it literally takes you the full day to be able to do that. Now, it may be things like that that you could do on the weekend, but if you're looking for, activities, excursions, things that you could do throughout the day, maybe if you work during the day and then you could do things at night, or maybe vice versa. If you're going to be working on your time zone back in the States, you may want to go out and do things during the day and then you can work at night, which is what I did. And then also, something else to consider is the time zone itself. When I was working from Malaysia, I don't remember if I started calls at like 11 or midnight or if they ended around midnight. But I'll insert a clip from my travel vlog. So I just finished my VIP session. It went very well. I have a couple of little loose ends that I have to tie up, and then I can send everything over to my client for review. But your girl is tired and I'm about to crash. Like, I don't know if you can see how puffy my eyes are, but your girl is ready to go to bed. I'm gonna sleep so good tonight, and I intentionally didn't book any like excursions or activities early in the morning because I figured I was probably going to be tired and sleep in. It is what, 12:40 a.m. here in Malaysia, and so it's technically like almost going on 1 o'clock p.m. East Coast where my client is. But I do whatever I have to do to make sure my clients get served, okay? Customer service is very important. I remember being on a call and being so tired because I was trying to stay awake. Like, I took a nap before the call. I woke up and I'm like, oh my gosh, I cannot wait for this to be over because my eyes are getting so heavy. So that is something that you want to consider if you have to be on specific US hours in order to conduct business or to work. Malaysia was not that great when it came to the time zone. Depending on which way you're going, as you go east or west, the time zones typically change like in 1 hour increments, except for in countries randomly like in India. For some reason the time difference was like an hour and a half, and so that really kind of threw me off the whole time. But in Malaysia, I do remember it being very difficult to kind of like balance working remote and also being able to go out and do things, just because of the way it kind of was compatible with the time zone back in the States. Even with that being said, Malaysia still made it into my top 5 best remote work destinations in Asia. So let's keep going and look at number 4 on the list, which is Bali, Indonesia. Now, I know most of you are probably not surprised at all to see Bali on this list. Bali has a huge Black expat community. It is a top travel destination in general. It has the most beautiful beaches. What is there not to love about Bali? You are probably just wondering why it's not higher on the list, right? But when we get to the other rankings, you will understand why. But I did rank Bali as number 4 because, like I mentioned, it has a huge expat community. You will find tons of expats there. You will run into tons of entrepreneurs who are either there as digital nomads, who are there working remotely, maybe short term for a few weeks, a month or two, and then you will come across people who actually live in Bali. They've built houses and things like that. Another reason why I ranked Bali as number 4 is because when it comes to the reliable internet connection, it can be hit or miss, okay? So when I went to Bali, I originally was going to stay there for a month. While I was there, I ended up extending my visa and then staying for an additional month. So I stayed there 2 months in total, 60 days. And the first month when I was there, I stayed in an Airbnb that the Wi-Fi was not that reliable. Even though it said high-speed, reliable Wi-Fi, it was not. And then the second location that I stayed in, it did have really good high-speed Wi-Fi. But it wasn't really a big deal to me about the internet connectivity, because one thing that I love about Bali, because it is a huge expat community, because you have a lot of digital nomads there, you have so many co-working spaces all over the island. So I actually have a video where I show you, I think, 3 or 4 different co-working spaces that I actually ended up touring while I was there. So I told you I planned on staying in Bali for a month, and then I got there. It was so beautiful. It's like, oh my gosh, I want to stay here a little bit longer. So I stayed for 2 months, and I would have stayed longer if I could have extended my visa again, right? But I ended up, just because the first place I was in, the Wi-Fi wasn't that great, I ended up just paying for a co-working space where I can go work during the day, and that was more than enough to suit my needs. And for the co-working space that I ended up going to and deciding to go with, I want to say that I spent about maybe $60-$70 per month in order to use the co-working space on a daily basis. And it was 24/7 access, and it had a printer and monitors, right? So it was more than worth the money that I paid for it. Also, when it came to being in Bali, I mentioned that I extended my visa while I was there. It was a fairly easy process, and there are a lot of countries that will not allow you to extend your visa while you're in that country. If you want to extend your visa, you have to like fly out and then come back in and get another stamp, right? But while being in Bali, I was able to extend my visa while I was actually in Indonesia and stay for an extra 30 days, which is not something that you can do in a lot of countries. But there are tons of things to do regardless of what area you stay in. If it's Legion, Simiyak, Ubud, you are going to have a plethora of activities and excursions to do. One thing about the island, you will realize that it is massive. It is a lot bigger than you think it is. So typically, even though it may not be as far as distance wise, so like for me, I'm from the South, right? I am a Texas girl, and typically for me, when I'm like outside of DFW or outside of Houston, you know how that traffic is. But other places within Texas, typically if it's 60 miles, I'd be like, okay, 60 miles, that's 60 minutes. It's going to take me an hour to get where I'm going. You cannot do that calculation. The math is not going to math while you are in Indonesia. When I was in Bali, sometimes I would go to Ubud, or I would go to some of the other islands or different locations, and it would literally say that it's like 25 miles away, but it would literally take an hour and a half to get there. And it's just because of the infrastructure, the way the roads are, the speed limit. It can seem like it takes you 2 hours to get everywhere, regardless of where you are going, where you're traveling from one city to the other. So that is something that you want to keep in mind. But while I was there, I did enjoy a lot of excursions. I went whitewater rafting, I did four-wheelers, I did the swings, I did the monkey forest, the rice fields, right? I did a ton of different activities. Even though I was there for 2 whole months, I never ran out of things to do. There were tons of things still left undone that gives me a reason to go back. And I really enjoyed my time there, for work as fun as well. So that is why Bali is ranking at number 4 on my list of top remote work destinations. So let's go ahead and slide into number 3 on my list of the top remote work destinations in Asia. And this one might actually surprise you guys, but it is Dubai. And so many people look at Dubai as being a part of the Middle East that they forget that it is actually still a part of Asia. And when it comes to being in Dubai, the Wi-Fi connection was amazing. Whether I was working from, again, I had an Airbnb, whether I was working from my Airbnb, whether I went to a local coffee shop, whether I went to a co-working space, no matter where I worked from, the Wi-Fi was always Wi-Fiing. I had a good connection. I could take meetings. I could get work done. I could download files with no hesitation, no struggle internet at all. Also, what I loved about Dubai was there was tons of things to do. There's so many different areas that you can explore, and every single area has its own little gems and like hidden things and activities and cultural experiences. There was just a lot of things happening in Dubai that I don't think when people go to it as a destination, they really give a lot of credit to, right? I was thoroughly surprised about my experience in Dubai. I do have a travel vlog from Dubai, the different activities that I did. I stayed there for 1 month, and within that month, I did ATV rides, camel rides. I went on a safari. I went to the beach a lot of days. I did stay on Palm Jumeirah, which gives you access to some private beaches that other people may not have access to. I went to the souks. Of course, you have to do all of the biggest and the world's largest, all of those things that exist within Dubai. If you don't know, you've never been to Dubai. Dubai is kind of known for wanting to have the biggest and bestest of everything, right? So you have the frame, which is the largest gold frame in the world. You have Burj Khalifa, which is the tallest building. You have the mall, which is supposed to be the biggest mall. You have the fountain, which is the biggest fountain. So there's a lot of the biggest, the best, the brightest in Dubai. And so you will never run out of things to explore while you are in Dubai. And one thing that I loved about Dubai as well is the fact that it is a diverse melting pot of cultures. You have Turkish people there, Ethiopian people, you have a lot of Arabic people. And so when it comes to food choices, there is no limits. I ate some of everything while I was here, okay? And when I say I ate everything, that is a statement in itself, because I am a picky eater. Your goal does not like trying new things. Once I find something that I like, I eat it, I stick to it. I don't like trying new things. I don't like spicy foods. I don't like it, right? But while I was in Dubai, I really challenged myself to try new things, and I loved absolutely everything that I tried. But just like in Bali, there was a huge expat community. There were a lot of entrepreneurs there, not only from back in the US and Canada, but from other countries all around the world. So you will never be surprised about the different cultures that you can engage with, as well as entrepreneurs that you will meet from all over the world. So that is why Dubai is coming in third place for my top remote work destinations in Asia. So let's go ahead and hop to number two. So coming in at second place, number two on my list of top remote work destinations in Asia for Black entrepreneurs and expats is going to be Phuket, Thailand. Listen, I loved everything about Thailand. The beaches were beautiful, the activities. I went to an elephant sanctuary. I went zip lining for the first time since breaking my ankle. I went to the monkey forest. I did so many amazing things. Of course, Big Buddha. I was in Thailand for a month. And so just like with Bali, when I went to Thailand, I was so surprised by how beautiful it was. I wanted to be able to extend my visa, but Thailand is not one of those countries that allows you to extend your visa while you are there. In order to extend my visa, I would have had to leave and then re-enter again to restart my time. So that was one of the drawbacks when it came to Thailand. I would have loved to been able to extend my visa. I was just on a typical travel visa that was good for 30 days. But if I could have extended it, I definitely would have stayed longer. But overall, in Thailand, the internet connection was amazing. I was able to stay connected to get work done the whole time I was there. I was able to have a lot of cultural experiences. I met a lot of other expats. I met a lot of people from the US, from Canada, from the UK, from Australia. I met so many other people who were entrepreneurs, digital nomads. So I definitely had that sense of community. Like I said, the visa, it was easy getting into the country, but not so much able to extend my visa to be able to stay once I was already there. The safety and security was on point. I stayed in Nayam Beach, and literally the whole time there, I would ride around on a bike. I would walk places, even at night, by myself as a solo female traveler. And I always felt safe, and I didn't have any issues. And typically, sometimes when you go to other countries, you don't necessarily have a lot of violent crimes, but you may have like theft and pickpocketing and things like that. And I didn't even experience any of those issues. I felt 100% safe day and night my entire time there. So that is why Thailand is going to be number two on my list of top remote work destinations for Black entrepreneurs. All right, guys, we have made it to a number one on my list of top remote work destinations. And I want to know what you think it is. Let me know what your guess is down in the comments below this video. So, number one on my list, top remote work destinations, hands down, is Ho Chi Minh, Vietnam. I stayed in Vietnam for 1 month, and it was probably the best Asian country experience that I had. I was thoroughly surprised when I went there. So, and it may just be me being naive, but when I went to Vietnam, I literally scheduled my month in Vietnam as kind of like a reset for me to kind of, recap, reflect on my year in business. And I was like, it's going to be so slow. It's going to be rural. It's going to be like quiet and a slow pace. And I'm going to be able to wrap up this year and start planning for next year and kind of reset. And I got to Vietnam and I saw all those motorbikes and I was like, what is happening? Why is it so busy? What is all this hustle and bustle? But I absolutely loved it. The people there were so nice. Just like many of the other countries that I listed, it has a huge expat community. It has a huge US expat community of people of all backgrounds, all shades. I met black, white, brown people who were from the US who now reside in Vietnam as expats. I met a lot of entrepreneurs who were there just kind of working for a month or two, like myself. There were so many different activities to do. The cost of living there is so affordable and economical. I stayed there for a month. I had an Airbnb. I think I paid like, I want to say like 550 US dollars, and then my utility bill. So I had to pay the electric bill at the end of my stay, and the electric bill for that month was like $60. So it was very affordable. And then the apartment that I stayed in, I got laundry service every week as well as housekeeping. So all of that was included with my apartment. So very affordable, very cheap food there. I would go out and eat at different places, and I want to say I would spend maybe $5 to $10 depending on where I went. The Wi-Fi connectivity was amazing. There were so many different things to do. There's so many cities that are around Ho Chi Minh that you could take day trips to, half day trips, like go down to the Mekong Delta. You could go to Da Long, Dalat. You could go to Hanoi. I ended up taking a weekend getaway and going to Muni with the white sand beaches and the ferry stream. So I never ran out of things to do. I had a sense of community while I was there. I had cultural experiences. I took a Vietnamese language class and learned how to speak the language while I was there. And of course, so being someone who is from the US, I did not go to the Vietnam War Museum, but I did go to the Cu Chi tunnels and I was able to see that whole experience. I cried like a baby, gave them all the cash I had as a donation, and then I was like weeping so much I couldn't even muster up the strength to go to the museum. But that is something that you can do. Another reason why I ranked Vietnam number one on my list is so even though I went to Vietnam not really having a full transparent recount of our history with Vietnam, learning about what the ramifications of the Vietnam War was on Vietnam as a country, it really made me kind of feel bad. And I was like, man, like, I'm surprised. You know how you can go to some countries and they are like not feeling Americans at all? I thought that that would be how I would be received in Vietnam. And then also being a black person, I was like, everybody don't like black people like that. But in Vietnam, no one looked at me sideways. I literally stayed in like a Airbnb where I was in a rural neighborhood, a local with locals, and I would like walk to the store or like take a motorbike somewhere, and no one was like, what is that black lady doing here? Like looking at me crazy like I didn't belong. Like they really were so friendly. They accepted me. People would, give me suggestions for places to eat. People would stop and make conversations. Surprisingly, even though I took a Vietnamese class, so I was like, I'm gonna have to learn how to communicate when I'm here. The majority of people that I interacted with actually spoke very good English. Even though people were like, oh, I speak a little English, they would be able to carry on full conversations with me without skipping a beat. So I love the fact that everyone was so warm and welcoming, even despite the history between the US and Vietnam during the war period, but I enjoyed it. I loved it. And I'm looking forward to going back to Vietnam, not only one more time, but probably over and over again. Maybe I'll even host like a group trip there, like go there with my cousins and family or something. But it was a place that I feel like everyone should experience at least once in their lifetime. But I want to hear from you. Let me know in the comments below, what do you think about my top 5 remote work destinations in Asia? Are you feeling it? Have you been to any of these places? Do you want to go and check them out? Let me know if you have a Asian country that you feel like should have made this list or that's on your top 5 list. Let me know what countries it is down in the comments below this video, all right? As always, thanks so much for stopping by my internet home. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe, and turn on those notifications so you will be the first one to get notified anytime I upload another video just like this. Bye, y'all.